Part of the problem too is people, I think, default more to like, how much can I handle versus how little do I need, right? Like we are always looking at what is the least amount required to achieve success, right? Like it's not like, let's keep piling it on until we break, till we get sick, till we overtrain, or, till I feel like, oh my God, I can't, this is like too much. We default in the other direction. And it's just, again, it's safer and more efficient. Why not? Even if you can tolerate more, instead of thinking, how much can I handle? You should think, how little do I need to still see the progress that I'm after, right? That's where we default in towards let's take the least amount and then only add more if and when it's needed. Most of the time, it's never needed as far as adding volume, which means, the number of sets. What's needed is the progression, as Jesse was just mentioning, of the resistance, the poundage progression, just slow, progressive overload.
We are about to launch
Solo round. Truth Not Trends.
What's up, everybody? Truth Not Trends here in TNT land.
What's going on, people? Jesse Schmidt and Liam Bauer in the house.
That's right. We're here to teach you how to maximize your strength as safely
and efficiently
as possible. His name is Jesse Schmidt.
I've been a strength coach for 2,086 days.
That's right. My name is Liam Bauer. I have been a strength coach. This year is 35 years.
35 years?
35.
Hey, and today we're going to be talking with you about what does it actually mean to train as safely and efficiently as possible. 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day,
That's
1
right.
hour a week,
How
1
many
hour
sets?
a month.
How many reps?
What
Do
does
we
safe
go fast?
mean?
Do we go slow?
What is fast? What is
Machines.
slow?
Barbells.
Muscle fiber types? What even are those? Isn't fiber something you eat?
That's right. I need it. Colon blow.
So stay tuned, people. And remember, when you're trying to get the most out of your training, you definitely want to check out Local Foods Cali. Local Foods Cali is your Bay Area based, feed your inner athlete. That's the first thing.
Feed your inner athlete.
There's an athlete inside of you. They want to be fed.
It's
so
in there. He's waiting.
The tiger
She's
wants
waiting.
out of the
Someone's
cage.
in there. They're
Feed
an
'em.
athlete.
That's right. Local Foods is going to make you some pre-made meals. They're delicious. They're nutritious. You can customize them any way you want, or you can pick from some of their pre-selected meals. They're delicious. Pick them up in the TNT studio or have them delivered straight to your house. Whatever you do, if you're going to sign up, make sure to use the discount code TNT Strength 5 to get 5% off your order.
And if you are looking for the best, most incredible home-based strength training system on the planet, you need to get yourself the Harambe system. The Harambe system is our band-based system made right here in the USA with a stainless steel bar, high molecular weight plastic base plate, patent-pended sling system. What is that? Go find out. Go to the Harambe system website. Check it out. And while you're there, check out its inventor, Khalid Borbea, a.k.a. Boo Robbie! He invented the Harambe. It's a band-based system that allows you to do any kind of barbell exercise you can imagine. Handles. You can do dumbbell stuff. You can do barbell stuff. 1 leg, 2 leg squats, deadlifts. You can load up to 1,000 pounds of resistance. This thing is incredible. The guy is killing it. He's gotten shredded. He's been doing the Harambe shred plan. He looks like a superhero. You could too. Get yourself a Harambe system. And remember, when you visit the Harambe system store, use the code TNT to get 10% off any of the swag they have there available.
Everybody, please stay tuned for this solo round about what it means to train
safely
and efficiently.
Boom.
as possible.
What's up, people? We're here in the studio at TNT Strength, and we're talking about
What does it actually mean to train as safely
and efficiently
as possible? You hear us say it in the intro every single time.
That's right.
And we realize, if you're just coming to our podcast for the first time or you're new still, you might not see the full scope of the 100 plus episodes and guest interviews that we've done. So it
That's
might
right.
be kind of meaningless to you. Of course, everybody trains safely and efficiently, but let's today we're going to talk about specifically what does that mean?
We're going to reset. We're going
What
to
do we advocate
rewind.
as TNT? Part of this platform we're building is to give certain people voices and to share their training experience, because we interview a lot of people who have been in the industry, in the fitness industry for 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. Some of them, Roger Schwab, right, 50 years. We haven't had Bill Crawford on yet. I just saw he got a lifetime achievement. He's in the Fitness Hall of Fame.
Nice.
American.
We had Ben Pekikio, right? That guy's
Ben Pekikio.
awesome.
He's been around for a long
Wayne
time.
Westcott.
Yeah, so
John Philbin.
a lot of the greats. I imagine probably some more of those guys will be in the Fitness Hall of Fame in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And they were here first.
Yeah. We mention it all the time, but we also have been doing a lot of different content on all kinds of different topics. So we're going to dig a little deep into the actual, what does it mean?
So, I mean,
When we talk about
first
safe
of all,
and efficient-
TNT Strength, Truth Not Trends is our personal brand, right?
Yes.
We own a business. It's a brick and mortar personal training studio in Oakland, California. And if you come in and train with us here in the studio, you're going to do at a maximum 2 workouts a week. And they're going to be a maximum of 30 minutes long each. So all in all, 1 hour max. A lot of people finish their workouts in 20 minutes, and so that for us is what efficient means. And, if we do an intake with a new client and we hear, I'm working out for 45 minutes, an hour, 4 or 5 times a week, we already know a couple things about them, basically, that we think they're most likely training way too much and not training intensely enough. We want to flip that. We want people to be training less frequently, so a maximum of 2 times per week with at least a couple days of rest in between. So basically we try to get everybody we work with training with, say Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, or Monday, Friday. So there's always at least 2 or 3 days of rest in between. And we also want to get people working out more intensely. So they're going to be training to momentary muscular failure, positive muscular failure. And that's something that a lot of people really don't do if they're just training in a big box gym by themselves.
Yeah, it's another one of those things that the term, right, can get thrown around all the time. Intense, work out intensely, or, I train hard, you know what I mean? But until you actually learn to apply it and experience it, most people are not training as hard as we're talking about. We often say effort-based, right, our approach, but effort is the name of the game. It's one of the most important things is how hard we're working. There's just a few simple factors we need to adjust to be successful with strength training. And as Jesse was just saying, it doesn't take a lot. Unfortunately, there's all this research that's coming out all the time, especially the ever-going concept that, for hypertrophy, which means making your muscles get bigger, that volume is the king. Like more volume means more gains. This research is always coming out, but it's never as conclusive as people truly believe. It's also misinterpreted a lot. When you think, how many sets should I do? A lot of the research is saying 10 sets is optimal per muscle group. But what people don't realize is they mean 10 sets per week, not 10 sets per workout, right? So you don't need to do 10 sets of biceps and then 10 sets of triceps and then 10 sets of, right? In a workout, we're talking about a weekly volume. So it might add up. You might do, and again, when we're thinking of it, if we're doing any kind of pushing movement, we got chest, shoulders, and triceps working out. Maybe we do a couple movements that have pushing. Now we've already done 2 sets for chest, shoulders, and triceps. Now we do some tricep exercises, an independent, like isolated tricep movement. We just done a 3rd set right there in that workout. And then we do another workout later in the week, similar stuff. So now we've got those 6 sets for those muscles or whatever. So there's more volume than you think, even in this approach. The thing is, we want people to start with the least amount, right? What is the least amount? 1 set is the least amount you can have and still have a workout.
So basically, at this point, Liam's been in the industry for, 35 years. I've been in the industry for 6 years in April, April 2023. And, of the hundreds and thousands of people that we've worked with, people see incredible results from making these shifts. Because the thing is that, remember, it's only like generously 20% of American population has a gym membership, right? So the people and the people who like going to the gym, they really like going to the gym, and they tend to go a lot. They tend to go too much, and it takes a lot of time. So, if you're hell bent on spending lots of time in the gym, like that's, you get off work at 5 and then you just go to the gym for a couple hours every day and you enjoy that and you're not going to change that, then that's fine. There are a lot worse places that you could be. We still would try to encourage the people who are going to, stay on the Schwarzenegger program, doing their 2 hour a day, workouts that, try to make sure that you are, working out. That's probably one of the only situations we might recommend periodization, like
Right.
doing training to failure certain days and not training to failure other days. But for most people, I mean, literally what we're telling you here is that, if you're spending, let's say you're going to the gym 6 days a week and spending an hour. So you're spending 6 hours a week, in the gym. We're literally telling you that you could be spending 1/6 of the time in the gym each week and getting at least the same results, but probably better results. And the thing is, you're going to gain 5 hours. This is the huge coup here, right? Is that you're going to gain 5 hours of time back in your evenings after work, or in your mornings before work, or your lunches, or whatever it is that you're getting those workouts in. The purpose, and this sounds like oversimplification, but the purpose of strength training is to get stronger, right? And so this is one of the other things that we're constantly trying to hammer home in our interviews with our guests and in our solo round, podcast episodes, is that you have to be tracking this stuff. And so what we're doing with our clients in the studio is just making sure that each time they come in for a workout, we're just pushing the envelope a little bit more each time, just a little bit more. It happens all the time where, we look at the end of the year, we reflect back, and because of the software we use, we're able to, with a push of a button, see what a person was leg pressing 1 year ago. And, we'll see that, wow, they added 50 pounds to their leg press over the course of the year, or 100 pounds, or 200 pounds if they're, starting out. For a trained person to add, 50 pounds to a leg press or a squat or a big movement like that is a big deal. And it's just a matter of, right, like 50 pounds a year is about a pound a week. It's not significant in a vacuum, right? 1 extra pound compared to, in your workout this week compared to last week feels almost indiscernible, but it's the aggregate, right? It's the compounding of that habit over time that really leads to incredible gains. So that's what we mean by efficient when we say we are teaching people how to train as safely and efficiently as possible. Efficient means that the work that you're doing is making a difference, right? Whereas a lot of people are going to the gym and they're doing all of this extra stuff that they think they need to be doing, but isn't really adding anything.
Part of the problem too is people, I think, default more to like, how much can I handle versus how little do I need, right? Like, we are always looking at what is the least amount required to achieve success, right? Like, it's not like, let's keep piling it on until we break, till we get sick, till we overtrain, or, till I feel like, oh my God, I can't, this is like too much. We default in the other direction. And it's just, again, it's safer and more efficient. Why not? Even if you can tolerate more, instead of thinking, how much can I handle? You should think, how little do I need to still see the progress that I'm after, right? So that's where we default in towards let's take the least amount and then only add more if and when it's needed. Most of the time, it's never needed as far as adding volume, which means, the number of sets, total volume, and stuff like that. What's needed is the progression, as Jesse was just mentioning, of the resistance, the poundage progression. Just slow, progressive overload is the other key, right? We want to stimulate, which is what the workout does. We need to recover from the stimulus. And then if we're lucky, our body has produced that result and gotten a little stronger. And then we need to continue to challenge it. As he was mentioning with the software, we're able to look at a glance. I can see what Jesse did last time. I know exactly where he failed because we're trying to reach momentary failure. We know that last rep was the last rep that he could do at that time. So if we can get another rep or a few more seconds or any kind of progress past that point, we know that that's an improvement. And we just, again, are stacking up those tiny little improvements on top of each other. And the next thing you know, someone came in. We have 80-year-olds who come in and they're leg pressing 150 pounds, and 6-8 months later, they're leg pressing 200 or 300 pounds, right? An 80-year-old. So yeah, this works. as we like to say, there's no non-responders. Like everyone gets stronger that we work with.
So, and we'll how we can train 80-year-olds safely. We'll segue to that in a minute. But people, going back to the idea that you're talking about of the minimal effective dose. Like one analogy we like to use is like if you have a headache, right? If you take 50 milligrams of ibuprofen, it might not do the trick, right? You might need to take 200 or 400 milligrams of ibuprofen if you got a bad headache, right? But you don't take the entire bottle, right? Because even though ibuprofen in the right doses can get rid of your headache, in large doses it can be lethal, right? And it's an over-the-counter drug. I'm not making the implication that if you work out too much it's going to be lethal. But what I am saying is that if you're always doing as much exercise as you can, you're basically just headed for a crash. I mean, you're probably one of these, in the mindset of these like January folks who they go hard and then they burn out and then they just don't work out for the rest of the year. So our approach is much more about, and back to the like pill analogy, right? Ibuprofen, you want to take the proper dose, right? Because the proper dose does the trick. The proper dose of strength training gives you a stimulus to get stronger, but not so much of it doesn't overload you so much that it takes you, several weeks to recover, and to get over the soreness and all of that stuff, right? When our clients come in for their workout on Monday and they do 8, single sets per exercise to positive muscular failure, they leave tired. They're going to be sore over the next couple of days, but when they come back on Thursday or Friday, they're going to be ready to go again. And that's what we find to be kind of the sweet spot for most people. Some people can get by with slightly less rest. Some people need much more rest. We know people that are, train as infrequently as, like twice a month. You even could train as infrequently as once a month, maybe, and still continue to get stronger.
Yeah, that's another thing that people don't understand, right? Humans are expressed on this continuum. So there's going to be people that can tolerate more exercise, and there's also people that tolerate less. Wherever you are on that spectrum, rather than finding how much can I handle, work back, as we said, to like what's the least I need to still progress, right? And for most of us, it's a lot less than we think.
So you can go back, you can check out some of these interviews we've done on our podcast. Brian Murray from Vive came on and he created or helped create a static contraction device that gives you a digital readout on a monitor right in front of you of the force that you're producing in your exercise. So basically, picture yourself in a leg press with your legs almost straight but slightly bent, and you're just pressing into this immovable plate, right? It's steel, right? It's reinforced, so you're never going to break it. You can put thousands of pounds of force into this thing, and you're never going to break it. And it's going to tell you on a screen right in front of you how much force you're producing.
Yeah, it's actually measuring how hard you're able to push,
right, in the moment, right? So you can, and it will compare your current attempts to all of your previous attempts, so that you can measure, right? Am I stronger today than I was previously? Brian, interestingly, this is a really, fascinating piece of technology. He says that he has clients that he's been working with for 20 years who are still getting stronger, which is absolutely incredible. And it might be true. I think about that sometimes, in the studio here, we say that, basically if a person comes and trains with us for 2 years, we should be able to get them to whatever their genetic potential is at that point in their life, right? You can't make a 75-year-old, reach their 25-year-old genetic potential, but whatever their potential is at 75, right? We can squeeze all of the juice out of that. But
and that being said, there, it's genuinely true that strength training does sort of reset these genetic markers of aging and so forth. So it almost is like a fountain of youth. It's not going to just make you look like you were and everything, but you will function better. You will feel more stable. Things will be easier in the world as you move around. And the better you do it, the more effective it's going to be and the more helpful it's going to be. That's one of the reasons why we always say that strength training for us is we think of it as a lifetime activity. We want everyone to not only to do it, but we want them to do it forever, find a way to do it that works for them. That's another reason why efficiency and safety are so important. It needs to be something that can be continued no matter what's going on in your life. So if it takes too long or it's potentially injurious, unlikely that it's going to be beneficial year after year after year.
Right. And what, the really, interesting thing about static contraction machines, and we also had Sean Bennett, who created the One Rep Gym on our podcast a ways back. What these devices allow you to do is build strength way more efficiently than even we do, right?
Yeah.
Because these static contractions that you're doing on something like Vive last for 5 or 10 seconds, right? So literally, you might do 5 or 6 exercises in a workout, right? A full body, leg press, chest press, shoulder press, row, pull down, back extension, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they can. Yeah, deadlift. There you go. And those exercises will be 10 seconds each. So most of the time, and this is true in the box gym too, most of the time that you're actually exercising is not spent on the exercise itself. It's more like getting repositioned. In the box gym, it's more like checking your phone and watching TV and chatting with your neighbor.
And waiting for that guy to get out of the way because he's got 7 more sets, bro.
But when we say, what does it mean to train as safely and efficiently as possible? We're telling you explicitly that you can get incredible results from your strength training at any age in as little as 5 minutes a week, right? That's what Brian Murray's doing with Vive every single day. And people are getting great results with it. And it's probably just a matter of time until that really spreads and people become aware.
Another, good friend of ours who's been working on the static stuff for many years is Pete Sisko and John Lewell. They were early pioneers in promoting static contraction training, writing some of their books after the Power Factor stuff, and partnering up with different people. Pete's been putting out tons of stuff about static contraction training for a long time. But we've got an article on our blog actually called Functional Isometrics, and it's a 2-part article that goes into how to do this type of training without this fancy equipment that we're talking about. Because although Brian Murray's equipment and One Rep Gym, they're awesome pieces of equipment, they can be cost prohibitive for people. They're not inexpensive. I think the Vive is somewhere around $17,000 or something like that. And the One Rep Gym is probably at least $7,000. So they're not inexpensive pieces, although they are very effective. So in that article, if you look it up on the blog, it's called Functional Isometrics Part 1 and 2. It tells you how to do these types of extra workouts just with regular equipment and safely again. So that's something else you can play with. There is a device also put out by Dragon Door called the ISO Chain, which is a device that allows you to do a lot of basic barbell style movements, static, and measure it. It has a force gauge device, so similar to this. And on the price range compared to these other pieces, it's not quite as diverse as in its application in some ways, but it's far less expensive. It's under $500. So that's something worth exploring if this type of training concept intrigues you.
So if you're working out for 2 hours a day, you're working out too much, in our opinion, too long, too much volume. You should work harder, train more intensely, too muscular failure, and do just less sets overall. You could spend as little as 5 minutes a week if you're really applying it right.
Yeah, you could do an experiment too with your friends, or maybe get a stopwatch, and only time the parts where you're actually moving weight. Like I did a set of bench. I do my first rep. Somebody starts the clock. I put it down after my last rep. Maybe that took 40 seconds, right? So now only time the times when you're actually moving weight, and then find out how much time you're actually working out. And then if it turns out like that time is about 20 minutes of actual time, which is likely, then figure out why is it taking you 3 hours to do your workout, right? When the work part is really only 20 minutes, as we're recommending, and wonder what is all this other stuff that's making it take so long.
There you go. We just got you back more dates and more family time.
Yeah.
And more.
Go read a good book.
Yeah. Learning time, personal and career development time.
That's right. Learn a language. Pick up an instrument.
Hey, what are those guys doing here?
Whenever I feel like I'm stalling out on my bench press, I know I need a new strength curve.
Whether you're stalling out on the road or stalling out in the gym, you need something with great engineering.
That's right. And
So
I
look
want
for the pendulum.
pendulum. Not just your average strength machines.
No, they have smooth strength curves.
Amazing rigidity.
And did we mention the engineering's fantastic?
That's right. Not to mention, they come in cool colors.
Like red.
And silver. Well, that was kind of weird. What was that all about? Back to the interview.
let's shift to the whole idea of safety, because we want, everybody thinks they're training safely,
Right.
but how do you know if you're training safely? Well, the first thing is how fast you're moving when you're lifting weights. And, there are a fair amount of people in the fitness industry that think you need to move fast to be fast. So they actually are advocating explosive training, like literally moving weights as fast as you can. My original certification was through NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And they, advocate these 3 different levels of, development, where first you're stabilizing, and then you get strengthening, and then the pinnacle of it is you're working on power. So you're moving, strength is like moving heavy weights, training hard, but power is moving lighter weights and moving fast. And we don't really ever recommend that, because that's where the injuries tend to happen. We think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how to develop power in that particular model. The NASM calls it the OPT model. And so how slow is slow? A lot of the time, I think we probably move faster than, a fair amount of the high intensity training niche of the fitness industry, which is sometimes what our neck of the woods call themselves. So we maybe move at like a 3 second up, 3 second down pace, maybe with a pause. So like a 3-1-3 is maybe standard for us, but we'll sometimes break out a metronome, have an actual physical metronome in front of a client. And we'll use a pace, like a 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down pace. Or, in September 2022, we called it Super Slow September. And our clients did a 10 second up, 10 second down, exercise.
So yeah, each rep is taking 20 seconds just to do one rep.
One single rep.
Yeah.
So a set might last only like 3 to 5 reps or 3 to 6 reps.
Keep in mind, we also are looking to reach fatigue somewhere in that 60 to 90 second range, right? Under 2 minutes, ideally for most people. So yeah, that's another mistake sometimes people make when they might want to try super slow, but then they want to also still do their 8 to 12 reps that they normally do, right? And so you got to use a really light weight to be able to get 12, 20 second reps, right? So it's not super efficient at that point. It's going to take a long time. Not necessarily that it wouldn't work, but it's not required, So yeah, most super slow stuff, you're talking about 4 reps, maybe 5.
And so you got to kind of check your ego at the door when you do a protocol like that, right? Because if you're in this mindset of like, I need to just lift heavy and it's got to be heavier every time. We're not necessarily saying that you need to lift heavier weights every single time. What we're saying, this is a nuance, is that you need to be training as intensely as possible each time you come to your workout, right? So where the rubber meets the road there is we're saying that, maybe if you're leg pressing, 500 pounds at a 3 up, 3 down tempo, and you're getting, 10 reps and you're able to add a rep each workout or something like that. If you then go, switch to doing a super slow protocol, you might have to work at 400 pounds. You might have to lop 100 pounds off of that weight in order to be able to, have a satisfying, set that lasts a minute or, 3 or 4 super slow reps. But at the end of the day, the benefit is exactly the same. And we haven't explicitly articulated this, but the whole reason we train to failure is because of it's a fundamental exercise science principle called Henneman's size principle. And so we're going to nerd out here for a second. So buckle up your seatbelts, hold on to your hats. But
get some popcorn,
put some butter on it. I had some buttery popcorn at the movies this last weekend.
It's gotta have butter.
Delicious. Yeah.
I like garlic Parmesan popcorn.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. So what Henneman's size principle states that we recruit muscle sequentially based on the intensity of the exercise we're doing. Meaning, right? You've probably heard, if you're listening to this podcast, you have at least a passing interest in fitness. We've got these different muscle fiber types, right? We've got slow twitch and fast twitch, they're sometimes called, right? Type 1, type 2, and there's some different subtypes in there as well.
Yeah,
but
we don't need to get too deep into it.
Yeah, long story short, basically, the closer you get to positive muscular failure, which not being able to lift the weight anymore on your last rep of the set, the more of these fibers you're going to recruit, right? And so we're initially starting to fatigue those slow twitch or type 1 muscle fibers, and then we're getting through those intermediate fiber types. And only in that last repetition where you're trying as hard as you can to lift the weight and you're unable to, are we really recruiting whatever the maximum number of fibers that you're able to recruit in that moment is, those type 2 muscle fibers. So that tying back into the efficiency, that's what we're efficient, meaning we're recruiting a maximal number of muscle fibers, right?
Right.
If you're stopping short of failure, now we're leaving gains on the table essentially, which is I think that's the cardinal sin in the high intensity neighborhood, is we always want to try to squeeze every drop out of each set that we do with our clients and with ourselves, because that's what they're paying us for. That's what we go to the gym for in the first place, to get stronger.
So with that in mind, right, keeping this sequential recruitment in mind, it turns out that if you reach that point of fatigue, you've recruited, as Jesse mentioned, as many of those fibers as you can in that moment. Now, if you were to put down the weight, rest, and then do that same exercise again for a second set and a third set, you're not getting fibers that you didn't get the first time. You're getting those same fibers. They've had a chance to recover. Maybe you took 3 minutes, got a drink of water, looked at your Instagram, went back to your bench press, did another set. Number one, if you actually went to fatigue where you literally couldn't budge on that last rep, when you do a second set, if you use that same weight, you're not going to be able to get the same amount of reps. You're going to fail sooner. What's happening is those same guys, they've managed to catch their breath, those same fibers. You're not recruiting different fibers that were left behind or hidden somewhere, right? The same ones are now getting recruited again sequentially and fatiguing. And then if you rest and do it a third time or fourth time, you're just beating on those same fibers. You're getting them more and more fatigued. You're using up more time, energy, resources, but you're not getting a better stimulus. You've gotten 99% of the best part out of that first set. So this is, again, why we don't do more than one set most of the time. We don't need to. Those fibers don't know if they did one set or 3 sets, right? They don't have any idea. They just know that they're being called upon to work. So we do it slowly and efficiently. We reach fatigue. This is part of the science application, right? We need enough resistance to cause fatigue to happen sometime in that 45 to 90 second range. And that can be reps too. So it might be anywhere from, depending again on the cadence, it could be, 3 to 5 reps up to, 8 to 20 reps, right? It doesn't matter. Depends on how fast you're going. If you're going faster reps, means you're getting more in that same unit of time. Slower reps means you'll get less in that same unit of time, right? So those are the subtle nuances, but always we move slow and smooth, reach a point of fatigue, ideally before 90 seconds, and then we've done our job for the day. We make meticulous notes. We know the guy fatigued at 87 seconds on the bench press today. Next time, if we're shooting for 90, we're going to use that same weight and try to get him to go past 90. Lo and behold, we went past 90 today. We're going to add weight next time. And it's just, that's progressive overload, right? Time, reps, weight, rest, recover, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat.
And so we can get the same benefit doing a 3-3 tempo on a leg press with 500 pounds, training to failure, as we do doing a 10-10 tempo on the leg press and getting as many reps as you can until you reach failure.
Yeah.
Right? This is a challenging concept to grasp sometimes for some people. Like, how does 400 pounds produce the same result as 500 pounds? It's not necessarily about the weight that you're using as much as it is about inducing fatigue in the muscle, right? Training to failure is the light switch or the elevator button that we like to talk about. Liam's got a great, we call it a Liamism, and we if you listen enough to this podcast, you'll hear that they're peppered into a lot of our episodes. But so picture yourself in an elevator lobby, right? And you hit the button and the elevator is like on the 10th floor or whatever, right? And it's coming down, right? You hit the button, it's coming down. So the corollary here is you go to the gym, you're on the bench press, you do your first set to muscular failure, and now you're deciding what to do next. Do I go do a chin up, or do I do a second set of bench press? Well, what a lot of people do is they just get impatient and they keep hitting that elevator button because they think it's going to make it come faster, right? So this is what people do in the gym, is they do that first set of bench press. They may or may not work hard, but most people are going to do that second set and then a third and then maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth, right? Because they think that doing more volume, doing more sets is going to make those gains come faster or in greater quantity. And it's just not true. You would be much better off just doing that first set of bench press, as many reps as you can until you reach muscular failure. If you're using a free weighted bench press, make sure you use a spotter for that. This is why machines can be useful, because you can train as hard as you can and not have any fear of dropping anything on yourself. But that elevator is already on its way down. We don't need to do any extra work, believe it or not. It's your people, and people will be in disbelief, right? You almost have to just tune out the crowd, because if you start telling your gym bro buddies that, oh yeah, I was doing Arnold, and training 2 hours a day, and now I just do a hard 20 minutes. I do a hard 15 minutes even. And transparently to you listeners, this is Jesse speaking here. My workouts are about 15 minutes on average. I mean, I basically 2 15-minute workouts a week. You can go on my Instagram, Wonderboy @Wonderboy, and you can see all the ninja stuff I'm doing. I'm a competitive Spartan racer. I do Ninja Warrior, rock climbing. I'm a very active person. I feel like at 35 years old, I'm at the top of my game, really. And it's because I'm not working out all the time. From a strictly time standpoint, I spend most of my time resting. I run a 10K on Friday morning. I do a ninja workout and a strength workout on Sunday. I do a strength workout on Wednesday, and that's it. I walk. That's it. People always think, oh, you own a gym, you must work out all the time. Nope.
Not only that, but he does.
I train people all the time.
He does these Spartan races, and he finishes very high up and he
shoot for top 10.
Yeah, and he only actually goes running once a week. So he runs one time a week out of his entire training plan, one time a week, and he's out there crushing these races, without spending, we have other people spending, going running, 30 miles a week, whatever, average, running every day, run. I found out recently that we have a small group classes that we do. Found out one of the people that comes to the class trains twice on that same day. They do another workout at another gym. I was like, man, what are you doing, 2 a days? I was like, that's a lot to take on. I hope you got a little break in between. And people just don't get it, right? That they're actually, they could be getting in their own way.
This is the ultimate sort of simplicity and convenience of this training style, if you want to call it that. I mean, there is a hybrid version of this training you could do with taking this knowledge that we've bestowed upon you in this episode. You could continue to do your high volume workouts, right? And do a push day Monday, pull day Tuesday, leg day Wednesday, repeat Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And just know that you need to train, slowly, under control, good technique. And at least one of those sets has to be as hard as you can, right? You could go do that. But keep in mind, it's likely that at a certain point, life is going to catch up with you. You're going to get in a relationship. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids. Work is going to get crazy. You get a new job. You get fired from your job. You got family stress. There's an earthquake or a pandemic, right? There are infinite number of things that can and will happen in your life. And if your program is 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, that's going to shit as soon as shit hits the fan, right? But if your plan is to do 15 to 30 minutes of hard work once or twice a week, you can keep that up almost infinitely. We always say there are 168 hours in a week, and all it takes is one to get great results from your strength training. So if you're 18 years old, going to the gym, broing it up, 5 sets per exercise, 2 hours a day, yeah, sure. We all have a million hours to spare when we're 18 years old. But when you're 40, when you're 60, when you're 80, and the alternative to not doing strength training is using a walker, who wants to spend that amount of time in the gym, right? So life is going to throw some things at you, and you're either going to drop your strength training completely, or you're going to acquire some new tools, which we are hopefully giving you in this episode right now.
Yeah, keep in mind also, speaking of tools, right, and being able to do this indefinitely, the tool is irrelevant, right? We are tool agnostic. So whether you only have your body weight, whether you have resistance bands, whether you have kettlebells, or you have high-tech gym membership, you can get effective strength training sessions done. And you can learn to do these things regardless of where the resistance is coming from, whether the resistance is just you, or whether you're having some sort of accommodating resistance like resistance bands, or you've got classic barbells and dumbbells. You can use any of these tools safely, efficiently, effectively, and apply them in the same way that we're describing. So you don't, it's funny. There used to be, back when Nautilus first came around, Nautilus, was one of the tools that really started driving this concept of the single sets and so forth. What would happen with a lot of strength coaches is they'd have a Nautilus circuit and they'd always prescribe one set on the Nautilus, but on the barbells, they would still prescribe multiple sets. Like they didn't make the leap, like, hey, I could do one set with a bench. They go 5 sets of bench and then 1 set on the Nautilus. 5 sets of squat, 1 set on the Nautilus. It was like, how come you can't realize that it works on the other tools as well, right? There's so many great guys out there you could dig into. Dr. Ken Leisner, who's passed